Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back. You're watching iAllegedly, and back by popular demand. You guys have asked for it. I've got Jack, the CEO from Patriot Gold, and we're in beautiful Del Mar today. So what a stunning spot, Jack, first of all. I mean,
it's absolutely
thanks
beautiful.
for meeting me down here, but this is fantastic. So there's so much to talk about, and I'm so happy that you're here. So.
Well, as we look right now at the gray skies, I believe that may be the economic hurricane that Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan was warning us about, or possibly the financial storm clouds that Stan Druckenmiller was warning us about, because just a few weeks ago we saw the regional banks collapsing, right? 3 of the top 30 banks in the United States collapsed. We also saw last week the debt limit being raised again. And Ray Dalio said, with the debt limit, we were doomed if we did and doomed if we didn't.
And plus, Ray Dalio also gave the debt ceiling package. He says, I'm going to give it a D. And he said, if I had to give it a grade, I would give it a D. You're passing, but it's not what I would have done. So,
well, he's the most successful hedge fund manager in the world, the co-chief investment officer of Bridgewater and Associates. Now, he said that if we're to raise the debt ceiling limit again, it will lead to a disastrous financial collapse, because it really renders the whole idea and the notion of a debt limit obsolete, right? They just continue to raise the debt limit and continue to raise the debt limit. And, I read something last week. The interest payment on our debt is now $929 billion on an annualized basis, which is the same amount that we spend on our defense.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's absolutely insane to defend this country, and you're paying interest on that. And that's the
same amount.
We teach fiscal responsibility here, and we've beat it into everybody's brains to get out of debt, save money, and the government has completely lost control, and it's nuts right now.
Well, Standard & Poor's downgraded the U.S. credit rating back in 2011 when we were $15 trillion in debt. We are now $31 trillion in debt.
When I researched this video, that was the thing that floored me, was the $15 trillion in 2011. And it's grown, over double since that time. That's
more
incredible.
Than doubled.
That's incredible.
More than double. And they downgraded our credit rating back in 2011 because of the $15 trillion in debt. So many do believe that Standard & Poor's and Moody's will yet again downgrade the U.S. credit rating. So we know, just as, say, consumers, if we keep calling into our credit card company and asking them to raise our credit card limit, meanwhile, at the same time, our credit score is going down, what that means to the interest payment on our debt. It just keeps going up. And now the Feds possibly may raise rates again at their next Fed meeting, which is June 13th. So next week, they may raise it for an 11th time.
Yeah, I think that people say, oh, they're going to hold, they're going to hold. I don't think so. I think that and all the bonds that are being issued right now to pay for this debt ceiling debacle is crazy. It's absolutely nuts that we're just basically throwing ourselves to the wolves and getting ourselves more and more in debt by the day.
Well, the stock market has priced in not only a pause, but a rate cut later in the year. And with persistent inflation, the reality is, and especially with that jobs report. So we saw the jobs report last week. It was forecasted 190,000 jobs were added in the month of May. The jobs report came in at 339,000.
Who believes that, though? I mean, I think it's so fake. And,
it is.
And so wrong in that people just don't, oh, everything's great. And it's not great. You had, Suncor, just somebody sent me this on the way down here, are letting go of another 1,500 employees. You're seeing more layoffs. You've had almost 1 million people get laid off this year from large companies, and not counting the mom and pop stores, not counting the small businesses, but these are, heads of household, wage earners, and this is serious right now. People don't get it.
They always adjust the jobs reports numbers the following month. And I, too, believe that the Feds are propping up the numbers in order to justify a rate increase.
Yeah.
Because with a $339,000 jobs report, and keep in mind, it's May, right? So that is a seasonal jobs report because you're going into the summer months. There's a lot of college kids coming out of school that are picking up jobs, waiting tables or bartending. And those are those May jobs. So
my son is, a college student, and that's what he's doing. But, one thing that we keep talking about is this is like 2 weeks now of this gloomy weather. This is so non-May right now. I mean, it's like June weather now, but to call this the June gloom, the entire state is covered like this. It's absolutely crazy.
The entire country. It's called May gray, June gloom. But again, I think it is the financial storm clouds that Stan Druckenmiller forecasted and the economic hurricane that Jamie Dimon was warning us about. One thing I want to mention as well, and I want to just share with your viewers. So I'm not a certified financial investment advisor, nor do I give investment advice or tax advice, but I've been on the front lines of assisting clients with physical gold and silver now for 15 years. And I'm the CEO, co-founder of Patriot Gold Group. In the month of April, searches on Google for how to buy gold in April of 2023 hit all-time record highs. Look at the train going by. This is really cool
because the train, this is right in the train tracks in Del Mar, so it's very cool. So,
and I'll repeat myself because the train was just going by. So we're oceanfront here in Del Mar, and there's a train that just passes, oceanfront. I mean, how about that? But searches on Google for how to buy gold in the month of April 2023 hit all-time record highs. All-time record highs.
That and the other thing that you're seeing people that have not talked about gold as an investment, like Bank of America, step forward in May and said that they could see easily a minimum of $3,000 an ounce for gold.
B of A, Wells Fargo said we're in a commodity super cycle with at least 6 years left. With at least 6 years left. And worst case scenario is $3,000 an ounce gold. And just last week, JP Morgan, so JP Morgan last week, who doesn't have a pony in the race, said cut stocks, buy gold, and hold your cash. So that was Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, cut stocks, buy gold, and hold your cash.
One thing that, as we were walking here, we were talking about how people need to have, even if they're in debt right now, Jack, they've got to have the emergency cash put together for a rainy day. And all the shenanigans that we're getting hit with, all these people from banks around the world, you're starting to see a lot of things that are concerning where they're limiting the withdrawal amounts that they can take out of the bank account, out of the ATMs. Some banks are limiting cash deposits in the banks and cash withdrawals. They want explanations for both. And out of the UK, something that you're seeing that's getting expanded upon is you want over 2,000 pounds? Here's a form you have to fill out to explain where the money's going to go to. And it's ridiculous. Your privacy is being completely thwarted and messed with. And you've got to protect yourself from these banks right now. It's totally important.
Well, we talked about the bail-ins that took place back in Cyprus. Now, Cyprus is part of Greece, which is part of the EU, which is the third largest economy in the world. And if we don't think that can happen here at home, these regional banks with the contagion, what happened is we saw with the withdrawals, these regional banks collapsing. I mean, starting with, of course, Silicon Valley Bank. But then it moved on to Signature Bank. Then it moved on to Credit Suisse, which is a global bank, a global financial institution. But when it hit First Republic Bank, which is the 13th largest bank in the country, and then it moved on to PacWest, the contagion of the bank collapse. Warren Buffett said, oh, look at this. And we have some kids walking by us as well. It's a wonderful day here. Beautiful to be out in the park here, oceanfront in Del Mar. And see, these kids don't have a thing to worry about. Not a thing to worry about. But their parents do.
Yeah, their parents.
Their parents are sweating the $9 a dozen eggs, right?
Oh, it's crazy. Everything is and the
unbelievable.
The thing that that as I researched this video driving down here, I was floored that you're seeing, hey, get ready for an inflationary cycle this summer with food and with petrol. And Saudi Arabia just said, hey, we're going to cut production to drive prices up. Well, guys, oil affects everything. Oil is the lifeblood of everything in commerce. And it's funny because it's going to make things more expensive
Can you believe that Saudi Arabia just said last week that they're going to cut oil production? Of course, this is at a time leading into the summer months when they always jack the gas prices because families are out of school, they're traveling, they're driving.
Those kids are at that summer camp right now.
Yeah, they're at a summer camp. But what is that then? All of a sudden, the transportation of whether it be furniture deliveries, produce, food deliveries, everything goes up. Everything.
You know, Jack, we covered this last week. Amazon has a new incentive program. They're testing in some cities. Hey, if you don't want things delivered to your house and you want to go pick it up at a central pickup spot, you can do that, and it will be, and you will get, you'll get $10 off.
A credit,
and for doing that. And I'm like, well, who would want to do that? You know, so
suddenly Amazon, the whole convenience of Amazon is that it's delivered to your door same day or the next day.
Yeah, that's what I talked about.
But I do notice Amazon now on every purchase it says, "Would you prefer to pick up your order?" And that defeats the whole idea behind Amazon, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
But it's because of these gas prices.
One thing that's been good with that is that, like, when you look at when I used to shop at Target, I don't anymore. When I used to shop at Target and Walmart, you could sit there and buy things, and they can have same day pickup. And if let's say you're trying to find a computer, trying to find a vacuum or something, and they say, "Oh, it's at the Irvine store," and you can have it for pickup. That was great because then you don't have to search through the store to get what you want. You know,
you pull in the parking lot, they bring it out to you.
They bring it out to you. But
how about these woke companies? And I don't want to get into politics, but I mean, Target, Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light, what's going on with their stock prices? Target plunged just the past 2 weeks.
You know, it really is, you know what, free choice, free will, shopping, but, you know, this ESG stuff that they're doing too is ridiculous because, tell everybody what ESG is.
The ESG 401k, it's environmental, social, and governance. And what this administration has done, because they don't control both houses, in order to get their agenda through, what the Biden administration introduced was ESG 401ks, where fund managers actually make a higher commission. BlackRock has signed on to put their clients, as well as Fidelity and Vanguard, some others are looking into it. And what it is your 401k would go into these, progressive, environmental, policies, as well as governance, and invest in companies that use unions.
Yes.
As well. That's the governance part, as well as equanimity and diversity and inclusion.
There's a lot of problems with the green, technology, in the sense that, like, even solar, I have a great article to talk in the next video about how, recycling solar panels is going to be, an environmental disaster, because solar panels only have a 25-year life. Everybody thinks that the solar panels, oh, I put them on my house and never have to worry about it. The inverters have a 10-year life. Solar panels have a 25-year life. And this is going to create huge, huge problems with, recycling and having to pay for this. And a lot of people finance these things for 30 years, which I'm like, you got a payment for life and this thing's going to wear out. It's like financing your car for 30 years. It makes 0 sense.
There's no oversight. There's no regulation on these, green technology and this renewable energy. I mean, we all saw when the Obama administration made that huge investment into that solar company.
Solera, but go ahead.
Solera. I mean, so do you really want your 401k invested in a renewable energy company where there's no oversight whatsoever? I was a little surprised with we have some guests behind us that are
it's all good,
enjoying the views, as are we. So they're just enjoying the views along with the two of us.
One thing that I get a kick out of is when you look at 401ks and you look at what central banks are doing, and you look at people are buying metals. I mean, countries are buying metals, central banks are buying metals, banks are telling people to get in metals, and you're seeing Charles Schwab recommend that people get into metals right now and as the safe haven investment. So, I've been sold on gold and silver forever, and I think you're going to see more and more of this in the future.
It was just announced last week that BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, a new basket-based reserve currency that 19 other countries are now looking into. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt have applied to be a part of BRICS. Mexico and Germany are looking to be a part of BRICS. But what was announced last week is there is speculation that it'll be tied not only to a basket of commodities, including gold, silver, natural gas, and oil, but that they really want to have BRICS tied to gold and for BRICS to be gold-backed. So we all know what happened when we took the US dollar off the gold standard, and they want to legitimize BRICS, and they want BRICS to be the international, dominant reserve currency. So there's a proposal to back BRICS with gold. And when you look at China's central bank purchases, when you look at Russia's central bank purchases, Turkey's central bank purchases,
India, there's countries in South America. It's taken off right now. It really has.
And the BRICS countries, if you look at landmass, population, GDP, resources, it's over half the globe. So over half the globe is now moving towards a basket-based reserve currency away from the US dollar, this global de-dollarization trend. And they're looking to back it by gold. So demand will so overpower supply because, as I mentioned, not only retail investor demand in April of 2023, searches on Google hitting all-time record highs. We're talking all-time record highs, surpassing 2000, surpassing 08 in the subprime mortgage crises, surpassing 2011 when gold went to $1,900 an ounce and silver was at $50 an ounce back in April of 2011.
Let's do this now. It's if you guys want to talk to Patriot Gold, call them today, 888-330-1431, no fee for life IRA. Plus, the thing that I love is the customer service is absolutely amazing. They have a free investor guide. They will answer all your questions on the phone. The customer service is the best. Everybody's knowledgeable. Everybody's onto it. But 888-330-1431 today, guys.
You work directly with an owner. We're the only firm nationwide where you work directly with an owner. We're Consumer Affairs #1 rated now for 7 years in a row. A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. The no fee for life, the minimum rollover is $100,000. But we also have a platinum no fee for life on a minimum investment of $250,000, where we not only pay for the registered and insured shipping, we pay for the rollover fee, the custodial fee, the storage and insurance on the metals in your IRA for the life of your IRA. But we also set up a non-qualified account for you at a private non-governmental depository and pay for the storage and the insurance and the registered and insured shipping on non-qualified metals under the platinum no fee for life IRA with Patriot Gold Group.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I said this on my channel and I said it to you. It's very nice to have you on speed dial to where I can hear a story and say, Jack, what do you think of this? And it's great being your spokesman. I absolutely love it. But I really appreciate your knowledge. And, your business acumen has been fantastic. But I am always preaching to people to get out of debt. I'm preaching that, be aware of what's going on right now, because this does not smell. The fish is going bad, guys, and it doesn't smell right. And people need to protect themselves and protect their families and worry about their future, because they're just going to raise the credit line. And we've all seen people in our lives that were irresponsible financially. That's what our federal government is right now. And I can't compare it any other way to that.
Well, with $31.4 trillion in debt, okay, let's really allow for that to sink in. We're $31.4 trillion in debt. Now, the interest payment on that debt on an annualized basis now is nearly $1 trillion.
Yeah, and it also goes up $1 trillion, they say, on an average of every 6 months right now, which is insane when you think about that. It could go $2 trillion a year just at the current pace, but eventually it's going to exponentially explode and lose control to where it'll get to $40 and $50 trillion. I really think that.
Well, do we really believe that the politicians are going to dial it back at all? Spending is a bipartisan problem. I mean, this debt limit debacle that we saw last week, this debt limit debate with raising the debt limit again, even in raising the debt limit, they had additional spending.
Yeah.
I was disappointed because the GOP did not really stand firm on some of the, the policies that this administration, as far as the $80 billion for the IRS, and that's what's concerning as well.
Well, 87 billion cut to 80 billion. They're still going to have all those agents out looking for people, and they're also going to go. Here's the thing, Jack. They're talking about people that are the lowest income earners that have all these deductions, that have zero income, that they're going to audit those people. That's that. And they said a lot of people that make under $40,000 a year are going to be hit hard during this time with audits and being scrutinized like never before. No one can afford that.
Well, when you weaponize the IRS, are we really to believe that the Jeff Bezoses out there and the Mark Zuckerbergs
that pay nothing, by the way, in taxes,
Tim Cook, that they're suddenly going to start paying more in taxes? Or, I mean, they have accounting firms that search for every single loophole. You have Bezos buying the Washington Post just as a tax write-off. So these IRS agents are not going to be targeting billionaires. Billionaires have accounting firms that are handling their accounting, and they find every loophole available. It's going to be the middle class, the lower middle class. I mean, and you look at what's going on now with persistent inflation, right? Then you're going to have a weaponized IRS. I mean, what's going on right now to the middle class? Interest rates going up.
Interest rates, that's the other thing, is that people don't realize, I mean, when you have mortgages above 7% right now, it is horrible. And the real estate professionals that have been around the block, that have been in the business for 20 years, have all said, wow, you know, we've seen in our lifetimes, we've seen 13% interest rates and houses, but those houses cost $52,000 a year. Like you were pointing out, certain houses as we walk down here, is when those were built, they were 50 grand, you know, those days are done. And you could have a 13% interest rate and have basically a car payment for that house. Now, when you've got millions of dollars for these properties, it's absolutely crazy.
Crazy. When you take the interest rate from a 30-year fixed at 2.75 to 7%, and you have, you know, a substantial mortgage, all of a sudden your payment more than doubles. What's going on right now to the middle class? And one thing I was going to mention earlier, we were talking about regional banks, Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett is someone that I, you know, and many of you should trust. I mean, Warren Buffett is someone who obviously...
The channel just exploded when you said that, but go ahead. No,
go
ahead. Well, no, it's... The guy's been around the block.
He's been around the block. Maybe trust isn't the right word, but the truth of the matter is, you know, he invests in American products like Coca-Cola, like Best Foods. And Warren Buffett's been around the block for a long time. And Warren Buffett, basically when Warren Buffett speaks, people do listen. And when Warren Buffett says that more banks are going to be collapsing, that's something you have to at least... listen.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because he's not, Warren Buffett is not a conspiracy theorist. I mean, he's someone who's pretty pragmatic. And if he
Jamie
says that,
Dimon also said that. Hey, you know, the thing that's frustrating with Jamie Dimon is, you know, one day you hear, hey, I think this is behind us. And he says, beware and be ready for more. And I'm like, make up your mind. And now you've got Bill Ackman, the billionaire, talking about how he'd like to see Jamie Dimon run for president, which I think is ridiculous, by the way. And I always think that Bill Ackman wants to be Treasury Secretary. So if you got his friend in there, he could be Treasury Secretary.
Well, I think Jamie Dimon was negotiating the sale price of First Republic. I mean, do you guys remember back in 2008, banks were too big to fail?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, JP Morgan's taken over Chase. Now they own First Republic. Wells Fargo took over Wachovia. Bank of America with Merrill Lynch. So they've only gotten bigger.
Absolutely.
Right?
There's a great HBO movie, if you ever get a chance to see it, called Too Big to Fail. You know, Henry Paulson, Geithner, everybody that was involved in that, and how they negotiated that with all those banks, and when Lehman Brothers went down. I mean, it was fascinating. But I think we're getting to a point that we're going to see more and more problems like that, because everything that we're seeing with these banks right now, be leery of your banks, guys. I've told so many people, get a second bank account. So many people have written me that over Memorial Day, they had problems getting through to their bank. Chase Bank was double charging people. And then I had people that wrote me yesterday and said, wait a second, Dan, I did get double charged and I have all these bank fees I didn't even realize because I was overdrawn because I had bought a bunch of stuff over the weekend, and then they double charged it. Now they have to go back and have the headache of getting those charges refunded to them.
Well, Wells Fargo did that as well. They got in trouble a few years ago with the multiple accounts and setting up all those accounts without the client's knowledge. And what did they get? A slap on the wrist. Yeah. Right? They get a slap on the wrist.
Get a fine that they could take out of their left pocket, you know? Yeah. So it's that I just, you know, you've got to take matters into your own hands, guys. Look at what people are doing. Look at what billionaires are doing. Look at what the banks are doing. Look at what countries are doing. Municipalities now are buying gold. You have now, what is it? Is it 13 states that said that gold's going to be currency?
It is a currency.
Yeah,
it already is. Gold and silver is recognized and accepted as a currency. One thing I also want to mention about gold and silver. So gold right now is flirting with $2,000 an ounce. It's around $1,965 an ounce. When you raise interest rates, that's typically headwinds for gold, right? So when you raise interest rates, that's headwinds for gold. The Feds have now raised rates 10 times in a row. 10 times in a row. And you have gold sitting at $1,965 an ounce. So when they do pause and when they do start cutting rates, because inevitably that will have to happen, where are we going to see gold then? Where are we going to see gold when they pause and they start cutting rates? We're seeing gold at $2,000 an ounce after 10 consecutive rate hikes.
Yeah, protect yourself, protect your family, your retirement. Take matters into your own hands. Get solid financial advice and look at Patriot Gold, guys. But also, when you get financial advice, get from somebody that has done this and been around the block. I am amazed at so many people that tell me, well, how old's your financial advisor? He's 27. Well, he was in high school during the last time that there was a problem. And people don't realize that, you know, there's something to be said about wisdom and knowledge and experience.
I was reading a lot of reports about a lot of financial planners never having been financial planners before all the easy money these past 12 years. So they've never really survived in a interest rate hike environment and an ultra monetary tightening environment. So here they have not only rates being raised, but they're peeling back on the quantitative easing. So the previous 12 years, you could have just thrown a dart at a dartboard and just hit anything and done well. Interest rates were zero. The Feds were printing money. They were running the printing presses. Now these financial planners that are 32, 34, where were they 12 years ago?
Exactly. And the other thing is, you know, you're starting to see more real estate agents that are quitting and, you know, got into it, thought they'd make easy money. And now it's being left to the professionals that have seen the downturns. Because let's face it, if you're going to go buy a piece of property today, you want someone that's been there, someone that understands the negotiating process, someone that's seen an economic downturn, especially with properties. And I think that we haven't seen the beginning of the real estate downturn. My two friends that are in foreclosures right now, all they've said is that they're getting busier on the commercial side, which people are losing their businesses. People finally have to pay up for that right now. And you're going to see residential properties that are finally going to go back to the bank. And it's finally going to happen this summer. But mark my words, at the end of June, which is normally the big buying season right now for real estate, it's not happening right now like it normally is. And yes, there's hot pockets around the country that are still busy, but overall it's down right now. And you've got to look at other things.
You bring up two very important points. Morgan Stanley said that the commercial real estate crisis is going to be far worse than the 2008 residential subprime mortgage crisis. So far worse, the commercial real estate crisis. But the other important point that you bring up is just last week, a Gallup poll was released, and Americans' approval of gold as the most solid long-term investment.
Number two, we brought that up.
The second investment as far as long-term preservation of wealth. Real estate is still in the lead at 35%, but gold is at 26%. Gold surpassed stocks, CDs, bonds, and treasuries, and is the number 2 preferred investment of Americans. And when you see interest rates going up and you see the possibility of a commercial real estate crisis like Morgan Stanley is warning about, I think by the end of the year, we could see gold take that position over real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Pelicans and the military.
Look at that.
Okay, guys. Well, please take a look at Patriot Gold today. Call them at 888-330-1431. Jack, it's always a pleasure. I mean, again, I love the fact that I can call you. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And but an absolute pleasure. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll get you back here, Jack, because we could do this for another hour. But thank you guys, one and all, for being here. If you want to reach out to me, hello at iAllegedly, but take a look. I'll leave the link below for Patriot Gold. Take a look at Patriot Gold today. Call them again, 888-330-1431. Let them know that iAllegedly sent you. And Jack.
And make sure to see our ads on Newsmax.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, make sure to see our ads
Jack,
on
you made me famous. I got people from high school reading, yeah, it's on you on TV. Thank you, guys. And I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Thank you, one and all. And I will see you guys very soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you.